The Young Turk Revolution of 1908 was a watershed moment in the late history of the Ottoman Empire, led primarily by the Committee of Union and Progress, CUP, a political movement rooted in the broader reformist network known as the Young Turks, composed of intellectuals, exiles, military officers, and students who opposed the autocratic rule of Sultan Abdülhamid II. After the Sultan had suspended the 1876 constitution and dissolved the parliament in 1878, ruling as an absolute monarch for 3 decades under a regime marked by censorship, secret police, and suppression of dissent, dissatisfaction grew, particularly within the ranks of the army, which was frustrated by corruption, favoritism, and the empire's increasing military and territorial losses. The movement gained momentum in the provinces, especially in Macedonia, where ethnic tensions, nationalist uprisings, and the presence of European powers had created an unstable situation. The actual revolution began on July 3, 1908, when Ahmed Niyazi Bey, a CUP member and officer of the 3rd Army Corps, defected into the mountains with a small group of followers, launching an armed revolt that rapidly spread through Rumelia, with other officers such as Enver Bey joining the cause. The threat of widespread insurrection, compounded by the assassination of pro-Sultan officials like General Semsi Pasha, forced Abdülhamid II to yield. On July 24, 1908, he reinstated the Constitution of 1876 and reopened the parliament, signaling the beginning of the Second Constitutional Era. The reintroduction of constitutional rule triggered a wave of optimism and euphoria throughout the empire, with massive street celebrations involving Muslims, Christians, and Jews, as slogans like liberty, equality, fraternity echoed the ideals of the French Revolution. The elections held later that year brought a new, multi-ethnic parliament into being, representing a diverse array of communities including Turks, Arabs, Armenians, Jews, Greeks, Albanians, and Kurds, and political pluralism flourished temporarily, with parties like the CUP, the Liberal Liberty Party, and various minority coalitions competing for influence. However, the challenges of managing a fragmented empire remained immense. In the wake of the revolution, the empire suffered serious blows to its territorial integrity. Bulgaria declared independence, Austria-Hungary annexed Bosnia-Herzegovina, and Crete proclaimed union with Greece, all in 1908, further undermining Ottoman prestige. In April 1909, conservative and religious reactionaries staged a counter-coup in Istanbul, known as the March 31 incident, April 13 in the Gregorian calendar, demanding the restoration of Sharia law and the dismissal of secular officers. The CUP responded by mobilizing the Action Army, led by Mahmud Sevkat Pasha and Enver Bey, which marched from Salonika to Istanbul, suppressed the uprising, and on April 27, deposed Abdülhamid II in favor of his brother Mehmed V, consolidating the Young Turks' grip on power. Over the following years, the CUP, once a revolutionary movement, increasingly adopted authoritarian and centralizing policies, suppressing dissent, censoring the press, and sidelining rival political factions. After the failed Balkan Wars of 1912 to 1913, which resulted in the loss of nearly all Ottoman territories in Europe and triggered waves of Muslim refugees, the CUP leadership, particularly the so-called Three Pashas, Tulut Pasha, Interior Minister, Enver Pasha, Minister of War, and Cemal Pasha, Minister of the Navy, established a de facto one-party regime. Their decision to enter World War I on the side of the Central Powers in 1914 had catastrophic consequences, not only militarily but also socially. The CUP implemented harsh policies of ethnic homogenization, which included the deportation and mass killing of Armenians during the Armenian Genocide, as well as forced assimilation and relocations of other minorities. Though initially inspired by ideals of reform, modernization, and constitutionalism, the Young Turk Revolution ultimately gave way to a new authoritarianism that contributed to the collapse of the Ottoman state, paving the way for its dissolution after the war and the eventual rise of the Turkish Republic under Mustafa Kemal Ataturk.